The Heceta Head Lighthouse, casting guiding beams through the coastal night since 1894. This lighthouse has served the Oregon coast as a beacon to follow for many sailors and curious tourists in Florence, Oregon. But with the light comes a darkness. And with the darkness, haunting apparitions may follow the rays towards Heceta to haunt their way home. What wanders and wallows near the shallows of a ghostly coast? Are they found by their forever home? Lost in the after like one lost at sea? The only way to truly know is to lean into fear, tread through the dark, and follow the light. Welcome to the Heceta Head Lighthouse. Enjoy your stay. I traveled out to one of the most haunted places in Oregon to explore the history held within one of the brightest lights looming over the edge of the Oregon coast. The Heceta Head Lighthouse was first lit on March 30th, 1894. Standing at 56 feet tall with a guiding light that stretches 21 miles, it was built to bathe the sea with beams of illuminating lights for intrepid mariners that dared set sail into the night. Due to its remote location, the build proved to be difficult to execute as materials needed to be delivered by ship, sculled to shore, then hauled and hiked up the cliffside. Construction began in 1892, was completed in 1893, then took a whole nother year in order to receive the last remaining piece to the puzzle: the light. A first-order Fresnel lens, the largest and most powerful lens for casting light, was only part of the puzzle as they still needed to wait for the lamps to arrive to complete Heceta Head. The Fresnel came from Birmingham, England, built by the Chance brothers, and the lamps shipped all the way from Staten Island, New York. They were final pieces of the glimmering puzzle, but once they arrived in February of 1894, they were assembled in a month and finally lit up the coastal night sky of Oregon. The lighthouse was named by George Davidson in honor of Bruno de Heceta y Turugoitia, who sailed along the Oregon coast as part of an expedition for the Spanish crown in 1775. He turned back due to his scurvy-stricken sailors, but he was sure to take note of the beauty of the land that is now in his name. With the light now in place, the lighthouse was then complete and ready for its first of many keepers. The lighthouse took 3 keepers to operate. Andrew P.C. Hald was the first head keeper to take charge of the lighthouse, with his assistants Eugene M. Walters and John M. Cowan. The next to operate the shining godly light as the head keeper was Olaf L. Hansen, who established much of the land with a legacy that continues to shine bright today, starting gardens and a schoolhouse for the keepers' families that lived on the land. Florido Frank DeRoy, Clifford B. Herman, Sidney H. Elder, John A. Boyer, and last to serve the Heceta Head Lighthouse before it became automated, Oswald Alik. These names served many years of guiding lights, through much sacrifice and treacherous conditions at times, especially for their families. Their wives and children often accompanied the keepers to stay on the land, with a teacher to run the classroom that taught all grades. Year-round isolation, a beautiful coast by day followed by rather unkind nights, the Heceta Head Lighthouse not only serves as the guiding light it provides, but the beautifully haunting atmosphere it ties tightly to. It was a labor of love that led it to where and what it is today. A navigational aid back then, and now, that, and a bed and breakfast. I was welcome to stay in the keeper's home that has now become an inventive and stunning bed and breakfast for tourists that want to reside and explore the haunting lands within and beyond the Heceta Head Lighthouse. You can't help but explore, and the B&B staff encourage you to do so, especially at night, equipping you with a flashlight to wander the trails once the sun sets and the night falls. I stayed in the Cape Cove room, just upstairs in the keeper's house. The keepers designated this room as the coziest of rooms in the keeper's house, and even though I felt a little uneasy with the haunting feelings of the home and land, I also felt a great sense of rest. But I was pretty back and forth between both ease and unease during my stay. A healthy balance, I guess. I especially felt uneasy with the feeling of ghosts, whom many have made themselves known to guests and the staff over Heceta Head Lighthouse's many years of existence. Downstairs, there's not one, but 2 binders full of ghost stories from guests and staff. Several sightings of spectral floating spirits all documented for you to peruse. I learned of many haunted happenings that hold the Heceta Head Lighthouse, from ghost stories to read at your anxious heart's content, and ghost stories to hear over a delicious breakfast. All hosted by the Heceta Head staff and Cecily the Caretaker. Cecily was kind enough to share some haunting stories over our meals. Here's what she had to say. All right, we're rolling.
All right, so photographed over there, you'll see Jenny and her husband, who is the second assistant. When I first started working here, I learned a lot about Jenny Avery. She was from Sweden. She moved here and married this husband right here on site. They actually are the only keepers to get married right here. And so she was a very tall lady. She was 6'4", and this is the Victorian era. So that is tall, but very tall for a Victorian woman. Her husband over there, in that photo, you notice that you do not see their feet. That is because he is standing on a wooden crate to appear as tall as she is. And so the first time I was ever giving a history tour, I tell the small group of people about this feature that the husband, and at the time I couldn't remember his name, that's why I'm calling him the husband. Jenny, who I knew so much about, and her husband, who was not a short man, but a man of average height. So he's standing on a wooden crate, and you will never see his feet in any photograph because he's maintaining this image. So I tell the group, and they're laughing a little bit, and then the laughter subsided, and it was a very small group, so it was a very calm day, just kind of like it is now, a little bit of music in the background, and I start talking about something else, moving on, and a photo on the piano over there just slammed forward, and it wasn't that it fell, it smacked forward, and it startled me, so I walked over to the photo and lifted it up to make sure nothing was broken, and it says in capital letters, Frank Leroy, second assistant, and he's towering over Jenny in the photograph. So I feel that that was Frank telling me, first of all, don't forget my name. I have a name, and look at me. Look how handsome and tall, you know. So that was my first, and it was, you know, it was not that spooky, but it was a moment where I felt like, oh, I'm sorry, Frank, I was disrespecting you. Like, letting everyone know your secret, and I couldn't even remember his name at the time.
Well, now he can float as tall as he wants.
Yeah, right?
Cecily had many fun ghost stories to share. Some humorous, some spooky. But the most terrifying ghost story I heard at the Heceta Head Lighthouse was none other than the mysterious, floating ghost lady, Rue. This ghost story stems from a group of college students that played with the Ouija board at the keeper's house. They were your stereotypical drinking college kids, and from the sounds of their story, were disrespecting the area, especially with the likes of a Ouija board. When they asked if anybody spectral had been living in the home, the Ouija board spelled out R.U.E, deeming the spirit R.U.E. There's much speculation as to who this R.U.E could possibly be, or if she had perhaps been attempting to just call the college students rude and just left out a letter, or that they would rue the moment they ever asked of spirits that linger the lighthouse. Records upon records of stories of R.U.E have dated back to the 1950s, sightings of a ghostly woman in Victorian-style clothing floating around the area, mysteriously rearranging the furniture, screaming into the night. She has been described as mournful of her daughter who allegedly died tragically at the Heceta Head Lighthouse. R.U.E, while a seemingly tragic character, has also been described as protective, harmless, and a fairly friendly ghost. She just takes her job very seriously as a caretaker, even in death. There's a story dating back to 1975 of a glass window being shattered in the attic. A lighthouse caretaker went into the attic to repair the window, but noticed a reflection of something in the glass behind him. When he turned around, he was met by a ghostly woman in a Victorian gown staring him down. He fled the attic, leaving it a mess, and didn't return to the project for days until he finally worked up the courage to repair the window from the outside. He left the broken glass on the attic floor. Later that night, the caretakers heard scraping from the attic on the floor, like somebody was sweeping up a mess. The next morning, they discovered a neatly swept pile of glass sitting in the middle of the attic. Who else but R.U.E? There are several stories like this about R.U.E, and I believe I myself had an encounter with her. When we entered our room, we left our door open as I was about to leave and explore the grounds to get some footage. I was talking to Kamari about exploring the grounds at 3 a.m. Why 3 a.m., she asked. 3 a.m. is prime time ghost activity, I answered. And as soon as I answered her question, the door slammed shut. Not just gently closed or pushed by wind, the door was slammed shut. And I think it was R.U.E. Perhaps R.U.E was trying to tell us to stay in for the night. Perhaps she was trying to tell us it was too windy for us to walk to the lighthouse so late at night. Perhaps it was an invitation to lean into our fear and explore the grounds anyways. I took it as an invitation, waited for the sun to fade, the darkness to flood the sea and grounds, grabbed my flashlight, and made my way through the night to follow the light.
Hello? Hello? Thank you.
It's frightening to wander the dark, but comforting to know who holds the light. Both the lighthouse and you. With haunting nights for such a beaming light, and darkness that floods the seas and skies, the Heceta Head Lighthouse holds a light of life that draws all towards its magnificent and spectral beauty. One of the most haunted places in Oregon, but also an absolutely stunning place to rest and reside. This historic hidden gem and paranormal-ridden place deserves much of its accolades, as many lives, many stories, whether ghostly or historic, built the Heceta Head Lighthouse into what it is today. Much more than just a light in the darkness, but an inspiration to beam bright ourselves. Through darkness, through story, through ghosts that found the light as it was intended to be, I encourage you to explore yourself. Follow the light. Make your experience at the Heceta Head Lighthouse a story worth telling for the books. Show your respects to Rue and her forever home. And be sure to enjoy as you journey the most haunting places ever on the Oregon coast. Just leave behind the Ouija board. Would hate for you to rue the day you ever step foot into the Heceta Head Lighthouse. Welcome to the Heceta Head Lighthouse. Enjoy your stay.